Hi folks, it's me again. I'm going to tell you about the top 10 worst Star Wars novels in the expanded universe. But I want to put a little disclaimer here. Even though I don't like them, that doesn't mean they're bad. I know a lot of people love some of these books I'm going to mention, and to be honest, I think all of these authors are super talented. Just because I didn't like the book doesn't mean the book is awful. Now, whether you agree or disagree, that's up to you. Remember, this is just personal preference. But I do want to clarify that before I go in here, because I'm not going to sit here and bash them, but I will kind of tell you why I didn't like them. First off, number 10, Plan to Twilight. And you're thinking, whoa, Matt, wasn't Barbara Hambley's Children of the Jedi in your top 10? Yes, and she makes my bottom 10 here too. Only because this time her idea, it has a lot of good ideas to it, but the whole thing about Luke being on a planet to where if he uses the Force, it creates a storm that could kill people. Okay, that's how you're going to subdue Luke and make him kind of weaker. You know, the whole Luke problem, Luke being having God powers at this point. That one just didn't catch me. I didn't think it was that good of an idea. I didn't think it was that unique, and it was kind of kooky to me. And so that's kind of what dampened it. Plus, of course, I knew we had to have the ending. We had to have the Callistia, but Luke's trying to help her out, and all she wants to do is be left alone. I get it, but it sucks for fans who wanted Callistia and Luke, because they're saying, you know what? I know, thank you for the 3 people who love this horse, but now we're going to have to shoot it and put it to pasture because the majority of you fans are really super pissed Luke is not with Mara. And so I just thought it was just an awful ending to a character that I absolutely love. Now, of course, not the ending, but you know what I mean. And this Callistia trilogy, that was it. And so I hated that too. So there's a few things, and that probably was not Barbara Hambley's choice. It was just how she was instructed to end the series. And I get that, but for me, that's why I didn't like this novel. My number 9 has an author who was in my top favorite EU books. This is going to be a recurring theme, I think. It's Joe Shriver's Red Harvest. Now, I love Death Troopers, that is true. Red Harvest to me kind of felt like it jumped the shark. And I'll tell you why. Sith at a Sith Academy and zombies, and I'm like, well, okay, so I should feel for these Sith kids? No, because they're evil too. I don't care about them. I want them to all die. I don't know. It just seemed a little too much like fan fiction to me. Now, I know there's a few people who love this, and they talk about, hey, it had Sith alchemy. It's the only novel that had Sith alchemy in it. I was like, yeah, okay, that's nice. And yeah, you could talk about some cool scenes here and there, but the whole thing about, do we really have to care for these Sith? I mean, just have them be wiped off the face of the planet. Plus, if this is how the virus started a millennia ago, or however many years it was, then how come we're just hearing about it in Death Troopers? I don't know. Like I said, I think maybe, I know why he did another horror novel, because his first one was awesome, and everyone, including me, loved to see. In fact, when I heard about Red Harvest, I was like, yes! I was super excited, because I knew I loved Death Troopers. And maybe I set the bar too high, but for me, Red Harvest wasn't my cup of tea. Number 8 is one that we all love to bash on. It is the Crystal Star. Now, we've talked about this too many times. In fact, I'm almost afraid that next time I read it, I'm going to love it, because it's so, in a way, so bad, it's hilarious. Now, I don't want to bash Vonda M. McIntyre. She's an excellent Star Trek author, or so I'm told, and she wrote a Star Wars novel as she would a Star Trek novel, and that's why it really doesn't mesh well within the expanded universe. Again, I'll gladly reread this. I can't wait to give it a second shot. Maybe if I reread it again, it'll fall off my top 10 completely, and that is a possibility, just because of how much fun I've poked at it over the years, that I think probably rereading it, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot now and say, ooh, Crystal Star, not that bad. Number 7, and I talked about this one, it's the Clone Wars duology called Siege and Gambit. I wasn't a big fan of the Clone Wars era. I thought there was just too much, media out about it. The TV shows, the books, the comic books. It's just such a crowded era in the Star Wars universe. But Siege and Gambit, what was the point, man? Really, it's 2 books and nothing happens. In fact, I haven't even gone back and looked at my review. I remember absolutely zero. I know it's about Anakin and Obi-Wan and fighting in the Clone Wars. But other than that, I know nothing about what this book is about. I know nothing. I can point to almost every. I can point to every novel, at least give you some idea of a character or a scene or something. But when I looked at Siege and Gambit and wrote that one down, I said, "What was that one about?" I can't remember. I remember literally nothing about these books, and I'll reread them again, just like I'm going to reread all this stuff. But that's why I knew this had to be on my top 10 worst, because if I don't recall anything. And I recall about books I haven't read in a long time, longer than I've read this one, this Siege and Gambit. I've read other books, other books have remained unread, I should say, longer, and I still know about them. Siege and Gambit, at this point, I really cannot think of one thing about that storyline. It is that forgettable to me, which is why it's on this list. All right, number 6. This one may shock people, because I think a lot of people like this one, The Last Jedi. It's the fourth and final book that we get to find out what happened to Jackson, or, oh gosh, I think that's his name. Now, I'm going to get hated in the comments over this. But, that Jedi Noir, Coruscant Nights trilogy, it was okay. And I'll be honest, I was excited about Last Jedi. But for me, I just realized that I just wasn't that interested in the main character, and it just wasn't that big a deal. I know a lot of people loved it. And like I said, Coruscant Nights had a great idea, but one thing I will say that bothered me about Last Jedi, of course, there was that flagrant contradiction in Coruscant Nights about Evan Peel, right? That the Clone Wars TV show kind of opened up that can of worms. Well, The Last Jedi came out after this and had a perfect way, a perfect opportunity, I should say, to retcon everything, to give us some kind of clue of what was going on. But the author didn't even touch that. Maybe he didn't even know it was a big contradiction to, silly fans like me, and he just ignored it. And so I felt like there was just a missed opportunity there, and that could be Leland Chee's fault for, not speaking up and saying, hey, include this retcon while you're at it, because I know you don't care, but nerdy fans like this guy do. But for me, I just didn't feel it felt like it was part of the Coruscant Nights trilogy or conclusion of it. And I know a lot of people did love this, and that's fine. Like I said, I'm not here to just bash either one of them, but for me, it just did not live up to expectations, probably. Maybe that's why it's on this list. All right, number 5. One of my favorite Star Wars authors is going to be on here. Folks, I love Troy Denning. I love Troy Denning. Every book that he wrote is fantastic, except for Tatooines Ghost. I had him autograph it when I met him, but Tatooines Ghost is definitely my least favorite. This is after episode 1 had come out. They knew about episode 1. They said, oh, we should make another Bantam era novel and fit in episode 1 characters in the episode. Now that we know about episode 1, I felt it was unnecessary. I mean, sure, there's some good stuff about this. The squibs are really great in this. Leia going to get a painting. Of course, that's another opportunity to bring Thrawn back for a little while. And all that's well and good, but I just couldn't get over it. It just seemed too forced. They're like, hey, we know about episode 1, so let's meld that into the continuity. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. I just felt it was unnecessary. So the whole time I was reading, I was going, meh. So that's why, even though I love Troy Denning, I think he hits out of the park every time. But for me, Tatooines Ghost, not my favorite. Number 4, everyone knows this, Shatterpoint. And I think I have a better way of saying why. First off, of course, I hate first person. So it's nothing that Matthew Stover did wrong here. It's just that I don't like first person. So that, yes, obviously that takes me out of the storyline immediately. But then, I don't know, I expected something different with a Mace Windu novel. I was excited to get a Mace Windu novel. I wanted a Mace Windu novel. And what we got, just, I don't know, set in the Clone Wars, on a jungle planet. I mean, it should be, and the whole idea about a Shatterpoint, about him reminiscing about, man, that scene in episode 2, that was the Shatterpoint. That was the time I could have ended the whole Clone Wars and didn't. I hesitated. Why'd I hesitate? And I love that. Matthew Stover brings that point, that Shatterpoint back in episode 3, which is beautiful. To be honest, I think I like all Matthew Stover's novels but this one. And like I said, I mean, it's okay, but for me, I just wanted more out of a Mace Windu novel, and I feel that I didn't get it. Now, I know a lot of you love this book, and that's totally fine. It's just, first person, it's going to be on this list, right? I don't like first person. All right, so my number 3, and you're going to laugh, but you know why. It's Karen Travis's Clone Wars Commando series, whatever it's called, Republic Commando. bleh, bleh, bleh. The first book, maybe the 2 books, I don't know, but were good. But when she started writing that I felt it was like fan fiction to get a Jedi and a clone to fall in love and have a baby. I was like, I was totally checked out. Okay, everyone's like, oh no, Imperial Commando will never be finished. I'm like, who cares? That's the only thing. Of all the novels, anything that didn't get a conclusion, that's the one I could care the least about. I don't care. Now, it is true that Karen Travis and I were not friends in the forums back in the day. I was obnoxious. I will rightfully claim I was obnoxious, and she called me a Tally fan. But I mean, I talked. If I saw Karen Travis, I'd have her autograph them. I thank them for the books. They're hugely impactful into the expanded universe. In fact, a lot of fans, they would put this in their top 5 of all time. I've seen people say that. They love, back before Disney took over and people found out I read Star Wars books and went, oh, have you read the Republic Commando series? Isn't it the best series ever? And I was like, I'm glad you like the books. But I know I may be making a mountain out of a molehill here, and that's what some people have claimed. You could be right, and yes, my animosity, my little childish jabs back and forth at Karen Travis did, probably added to that. But for me, no, this series isn't for me. I just don't like it. Number 2. To be honest, I had a hard time deciding between number 1 and number 2. But number 2 is going to be Tim Lebbon's Dawn of the Jedi. I just don't like the way the guy writes. That's it. Plain and simple. I just don't like his writing style. That's it. It's not for me. It may be for you, but it's not for me. It lost me a lot. Someone says, well, Matt, listen to audio. Yeah, but if you have to listen to audio not to get lost, there's a problem with your writing style. I'm just saying. I also read the Firefly novel he wrote just last year or so, and again, that writing style, not for me. It was my least favorite out of all of them. I think most of those Firefly novels have been unbelievable, but Tim Lebbon's wasn't, and so it's just his writing style. Some people like it, some people don't. I am definitely in the section that don't, and that's why Dawn of the Jedi is number 2. That and I just thought was boring. Finally, my number 1, you know what it is. I rubbed it in your noses. A lot of y'all love iJedi, and that is totally fine. I'm not a fan. Now, everyone says this is Stackpole's best, and they mean it, and I get your reasons why. But for me, and I know it was done with the blessing of Kevin J. Anderson to force his character into this Jedi Academy trilogy, but I say hogwash, sir, hogwash. I'm not going to bash it any more than I did in my review, but the thing is, I'm glad people I like Stackpole. As an author, talking to him, I think he's awesome. Okay? Like I said, his X-Wing novels are some of my favorite books of all time. And, generally speaking, he's a great guy. I took a writing workshop with him, and I'd do it again. But for me, iJedi, no, not gonna like it, because I think it just shoehorned a character into a series. And regardless of whether Kevin J. Anderson was fine with it or not, I wasn't. My little feelings weren't. But other than that, I know it's kind of funny because this is everyone's number 1 favorite one, and I get that. But for me, and then I think it did have some first person in there too, which, as you know, I don't like that writing style. So again, not Michael Stackpole's fault, just it's on me because I don't like that writing style. He put it in there. I get why he did it. It just wasn't for me. All right, folks, those are my top 10, in my humble opinion, worst EU books. But what do I know? Hey, let me know in the chat. Give me some of that hate. What books are in your top 10 books you don't like? And if you put Kevin J. Anderson books in there, I'm going to delete your... I'm just kidding, I'm not. See you later.